In the play Hamlet by William Shakespeare, in one of the dialogues that Hamlet and his friend Horatio have, Hamlet says to Horatio, "There are more things in heaven and on earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophies." Hamlet could well have been talking about God. No matter how much we think we know about God, God will always remain a mystery. We will know only so much and no more. There will always be more to know. The readings of today highlight this reality. The first reading of today narrates Moses' encounter with God. This encounter is one of both revelation and concealment. God was, is, and will be, and yet this is not all that God is. Moses would never be able to fully understand or comprehend who God really is. Even so, the name of God reveals power, fidelity, and presence. God is revealed through God's name. No one who is able to make something from nothing, as one who can make the impossible possible, only God. God is revealed as one who will remain faithful even in the face of infidelity, one who will be eternally present to people even though they may doubt God's presence. God will be there when God is called upon. God will help when God is asked. In the gospel text of today, Jesus makes a very similar point about the mystery of God. Here, the point is made about God's action. We can never fully understand God's ways, even though we might try to. There is no answer to the question of why the Galileans whom Pilate had killed had to die, or why it was that the specific group of 18 on whom the Tower of Siloam fell had to be crushed under it. Our finite minds will never be able to come up with plausible and believable answers to these questions. They will remain mysteries. Yet, in the parable of the fig tree, and even more through the life and mission of Jesus, God is revealed as one who is willing to give humans a chance to improve, and not only one chance, but a million chances. God is revealed as one who will continue to wait for humans to return to God. Since this is so, rather than speculate on the question why, Jesus invites people to repentance. But what is the meaning of repentance? The English word repentance is a translation from the Greek metanoia, which in turn is made up of two Greek words, meta and nous. Meta means beyond, and nous is the mind. So metanoia literally means go beyond your mind. In other words, get a new mind, get a new vision, get a new way of looking. Repentance does not have anything to do with sorrow or remorse, but it has everything to do with newness. It is practical rather than speculative. It must be a practical response to God and life. It is an attitude that realizes that we will never have the answers to all the questions that we can ask. We will never be able to answer credibly why one person is stricken with a dreaded disease and another is healthy. We will never be able to answer plausibly why one mother should deliver a stillborn baby and another a baby full of life. We will never be able to answer believably why a young person dies in an accident because of the negligence of someone else and why another in the same vehicle survives. In the face of these conundrums, like, what must be our response? Our response must be to do what we are required to do our best, and then to leave the rest to God and God's will. This does not mean that we develop a fatalistic attitude. It does not mean that we do nothing but accept our fate. No, on the contrary, we do not throw up our hands in despair. We do not give up. We do not lose hope, but we respond with faith and trust in a God who will always do what is best for us. Paul speaks of this response in the second reading of today when he interprets the Exodus event. At the time it happened, the people who went through it were not able to comprehend it. And unfortunately, because they could not comprehend it, they reacted rather than responded. They complained, they grumbled, they thought that God was not on their side. They thought that God was unconcerned about them and their plight. Yet, as has been shown, God was on their side, even when they could not feel God's presence as tangibly or as really as they would have liked. God continued to go ahead of them, lighting their path and guiding their way. God was always present because the name of God is not I was, not even I will be, but the name of God is I am. This presence means that God is eternally, constantly, always present. The challenge for the Corinthian community, according to Paul, and to each one of us today, is to learn from the Exodus event that God does not abandon anyone. Even in the face of severest trials, even in the face of hardest hardships, even in the face of the sternest challenges, God is there and God does provide a way. This remains the challenge for us today, very especially when we have gone through a tremendous last 2 years of challenges. Though science and technology had made so much progress, we were laid low, we were struck down by a dead virus. Though we have found tough answers to many, many questions, we must remember, and I hope COVID-19 has taught us, that there is a great deal that we do not yet know. There are indeed more things in heaven and on earth than are dreamt of in our philosophies. Will we realize that God is God and that God will remain God, and that we will always remain finite, frail, weak human beings